Good afternoon and welcome to today's New York City Council hearing, Committee on Environmental Protection. If you would like to testify today, please see one of the Sergeant-at-Arms in the back to fill out a testimony slip. No one may approach the dais at any time during today's hearing. Please silence all electronic devices. Chair, you may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Councilmember Jim Gennaro, father of the bride, chair of the Committee on Environmental Protection, Resiliency, and Waterfronts. Today we will hold an oversight hearing on nature-based solutions for climate resiliency and disaster preparedness. Additionally, we'll be hearing two intros sponsored by me and two resolutions sponsored by my colleague Julie Menon. Julie can't be here today, but we look forward to hearing her resolutions. Intro 1253, which would require DEP to notify council members whenever the city installs a new bioswale, rain garden, or other bioretention system in the public right-of-way within their district. That's that bill. Intro number 1254, which would create a green acre metric to measure stormwater captured by green infrastructure installed by the city and set a green acre goal for MS4 areas. Many in the audience, well, of course, DEP knows, but people who may be watching, the city has two kinds of sewage drainage areas. One is where the sanitary sewers and the storm sewers are combined. We call those combined sewer, whatever. And the other area of the city, I guess it's about a third of the city or whatever, but I'm sure DEP will tell us. We call those areas that have separate stormwater, separate dedicated sanitary sewers that go to the sewage treatment plant, and the storm flow runs to a local water body. We call those MS4 areas. I mean, it just doesn't run right out that we take out floatables and stuff like that. But so that is what MS4 means. And then Reso 131, calling on the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign Bill A6872A and S5921A, the New York State deforestation-free procurement area, hyphen between deforestation and free. Deforestation-free, like that's what we're going for. Next reso, proposed reso number 143A, to recognize the contributions of the Federal Endangered Species Act to the natural environment of New York City. While there is no universally agreed upon definition for nature-based solutions, we're getting back to the oversight topic now. The term is often understood to encompass a range of ecosystem-related strategies, including ecosystem-based adaptation, ecosystem-based management, green infrastructure, blue-green infrastructure, don't know what that is, but I'll find out, natural infrastructure, and ecosystem-based disaster risk reduction. Research indicates that nature-based solutions can be just as, if not more, effective at addressing environmental hazards than traditional gray infrastructure. Nature-based climate adaptations can be more resilient, have lower maintenance needs, be deployed with greater flexibility, and feature co-benefits like improving air and water quality, increasing habitat for wildlife, and providing social and recreational benefits for people as well. By contrast, gray infrastructure, hey, nothing wrong with gray infrastructure. Gray infrastructure projects can often be very expensive to install and maintain, can come with serious project permitting and funding delays, and in some instances have severe negative impacts on the environment for sometimes insufficient levels of additional protection. In New York City, we've used this nature-based, we, meaning, DEP, us, whatever. We've used nature-based program. We've used this nature-based paradigm to successfully address local flooding conditions in Staten Island, Queens, and the Bronx, and increased our resiliency to heat by expanding local tree cover, which has been particularly important in high heat vulnerability neighborhoods. We've used green infrastructure assets like rain gardens and bioswales to manage nearly 2 billion gallons of stormwater annually, reducing combined sewer overflows, combined sewage overflow events by, wait for it, nearly 800 million gallons a year. And we've used green infrastructure assets to increase resiliency to storm surge through efforts like having living breakwaters projects, to have the Living Breakwaters Project and coastal wetlands restoration work, to name a few. But every year, climate change exacerbates disordered weather patterns, reminding us that there is much more work yet to be done. At this hearing, I'm hoping to shine a spotlight on some of the great nature-based climate and resiliency work that the city is already undertaking. We've been doing this a long time, and so I'm sure that DEP is going to have a very good story to tell. This hearing hoping to shine a spotlight on some of the great nature-based climate and resiliency work that the city is already undertaking, so that we can see what opportunities we have to expand this work in the future. And this all ties into what we're doing with our last bill, with the comprehensive stormwater management plan. It's all one big, one big effort. I'd like to thank the committee staff, legislative councils, Natasha Bynum to my right, and Ciara Townsend, policy analyst Ricky Chawla and Andrew Bourne, financial analyst Tanvir Singh, as well as my own legislative director, Josh Gachette. The staff is sitting to my left, for all their hard work. And I want to recognize that we're joined by Council Members Holden and Marmorato. They have joined us. It's always a pleasure to be with them. Now I'll turn it over to committee counsel to give the affirmation to the witnesses.
Good morning. Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions? Thank you. You may begin when you're ready.
I just want to say that, notwithstanding the fact that that the committee council said it was good morning instead of afternoon, the affirmation still takes. Okay, it's still, there's not like a time thing. There's no loopholes here. So
I do all day.
Yeah. So you're affirmed. Like, that's it. Let me just get your testimony, and let me get my pen so I can make some notes. And please state your name for the record and proceed with your good testimony.
Good afternoon, Chair Gennaro, members of the Committee on Environmental Protection, Resiliency, and Waterfronts. I am Angela Licata, Deputy Commissioner of Sustainability at the Department of Environmental Protection. And I'm joined today by Deputy Commissioner of Public Affairs and Communication, Beth DeFalco, and several other colleagues from DEP and the Department of Parks and Recreation to talk about nature-based solutions for climate resilience and disaster preparedness. DEP has a long-standing history of using nature-based solutions to improve harbor water quality. Newer systems focus on managing stormwater in areas that are prone to flooding. Nature-based solutions can be advantageous when they are brought online more quickly and with less construction disruption than long-term sewer construction. They also have meaningful local improvements. Before we talk more about these tools, we should talk about our changing climate. Climate change is bringing more severe and frequent rainstorms to New York City. In 2020, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration reclassified New York City from a coastal temperate zone to a humid subtropical climate zone, a recognition that we now live in a different world than we were in a few decades ago. The more severe rainstorms have brought new challenges to our stormwater management system. Traditionally, sewers, often referred to as gray infrastructure, are the main line of defense in a storm. New York City has approximately 7,500 miles of sewers, which were designed to effectively manage stormwater for a temperate climate. Our sewers continue to protect fully against 98% of rain events, but the system is not designed to handle the most extreme storms we now face. The sewer system can get overwhelmed when the amount of water produced by the storm is greater than the capacity of the pipes. This generally means that for most sewers can handle between 1.2 and 1.75 inches of rain per hour. This used to be rare for most of the city, but is now a regular occurrence. We have to expand our stormwater management system if we want to meet the needs of today, let alone tomorrow. Upsizing sewers alone is not financially and logistically feasible. Building above ground is almost always cheaper and faster than building below. Our best strategy is to use a combination of both gray and green infrastructure in the right place and measure. Green infrastructure absorbs water into the ground in areas with good soil. It can also green neighborhoods, improve air quality, create cooling, improve aesthetics, and provide habitat for pollinators. A few years ago, we started to identify opportunities where we could site and design green infrastructure to go above and beyond the CSO reduction, that's combined sewer overflow reduction, which is what the program principally was charged with doing in its origin. You'll find these strategies in large, underutilized medians, and you will also see the cloudburst management program that we'll discuss below coming soon. With over 16,000 green infrastructure assets constructed and
I kind of lost my place. I think I have a different version of the...
I'm starting with the paragraph with over 16,000 green infrastructure assets.
Okay, hang on. Got it. Thank you.
And over 1.4 billion committed, the New York City Green Infrastructure Program is now the largest of its kind in the nation and continues to grow. In 2024 alone, we added 2,500 green infrastructure assets in our city through a combination of rain gardens and infiltration basins in our sidewalks, as well as new green infrastructure on public and private lots. In keeping with the topic of the hearing today, I would like to tell you a little bit about how DEP uses nature-based solutions and tools and discuss the implementation challenges. DEP's Blue Belt program dates back to the early 1990s. Blue Belts are ecologically rich stormwater management practices that work in tandem with our sewer infrastructure. They incorporate natural or engineered water features, such as streams, ponds, and wetlands, to convey, store, filter, and slow the flow of stormwater to manage and alleviate and prevent flooding. As an added benefit, Blue Belts include open spaces with native vegetation that reduce runoff and pollution and provide wildlife habitat. Blue Belts are connected to storm sewer pipes, so they are part of the sewer system network. They work with nature, preserving or restoring natural drainage corridors, like the streams, the ponds, and the wetlands, using these natural systems to store and filter the stormwater. In addition to these stormwater benefits, Blue Belt networks help improve the city's ecological health and in some cases provide community amenities. As Blue Belts use wetlands and ponds to manage stormwater, they are primarily sited at locations with existing water bodies and separate storm sewer networks. Most of them are in Staten Island because Staten Island has the most intact water courses and water bodies than the other boroughs. Over the last 10 years, DEP has built Blue Belts for approximately 1/3 of Staten Island's land area. In Staten Island, we are continuing to build out Blue Belts in New Creek, Lemon Creek, Arden Heights, and Butler Manor watersheds. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is commencing construction of Blue Belts in South Beach watershed of Staten Island as part of an interior drainage of the South Shore of Staten Island seawall. DEP has completed 96 Blue Belt assets across 3 boroughs. In addition to Staten Island, DEP has created some Blue Belts in Queens and the Bronx and is looking to expand the program into other boroughs. DEP looks for opportunities to implement Blue Belts in watersheds near to flood-vulnerable areas. Many times these flood-vulnerable areas are nearby or within existing or historic waterways. They are often located on New York City Parks property, so DEP is partnering with the Parks Department to identify opportunities where parkland could provide the space necessary to detain stormwater. Where there is no obvious parks partnership, DEP looks for other city-owned or vacant land opportunities. In addition to the stormwater and flooding benefit, the Blue Belt program is also a community amenity. The majority of Blue Belt sites are open to the public and offer an open space experience. The public can access the sites via gravel walking paths that afford access to green spaces rich with wildlife, wildflowers, and wetlands. The program also leads multiple educational tours each year and hosts an annual citizen science project where local students learn hands-on about fish migration, water quality, and scientific methods. A popular Adopt a Blue Belt project gives the community an opportunity to get involved by adopting sites and keeping them free of litter and weeds. The Blue Belt program also supports local community groups each year by sponsoring cleanup events on city properties. Transitioning to rain gardens, green medians, and porous pavement, we can recognize that green infrastructure comes in a variety of shapes and sizes, including curbside rain gardens, greened medians with underground stormwater retention, porous pavements, and infiltration basins. Each of these installations or assets allows water to flow in and then seep through layers of engineered soil and stone into the ground underneath. We have now installed more than 16,000 green infrastructure assets in the public right-of-way around the city, and the majority of these, about 7,000, are rain gardens. We are building more than just the rain gardens you see on the sidewalk and porous pavements in the streets. We have also retrofitted over 250 public parks, playgrounds, and nature properties with green infrastructure, and we have over 100 additional properties in planning and design. This includes projects funded through our public-private partnership with the Trust for Public Land, which has delivered 54 greened community schoolyards. Information about various types of green infrastructure and a map of the right-of-way assets around the city are included at the end of this testimony. As we have spoken before about maintaining green infrastructure, we know that it is critical, and it can also be a challenge. We strive to keep our rain gardens healthy and performing by visiting them every 4 to 6 weeks. Rain gardens are designed so that water flows into them. If there is litter on the street, that water can bring litter into the garden. As you might imagine, high pedestrian traffic areas tend to accumulate litter in the rain gardens as well. We use a data-driven approach to maintenance crew deployment and routing. Where our inspection data shows high need areas, we send crews more frequently, and where the data shows less need, we deploy crews less frequently. We also supplement litter control with a borough-based contractor support contract. More time spent on litter control means less crew time available for other work like soil enhancement, tree pruning, plantings, and horticultural services that are important for maintenance staff, recruitment, job satisfaction, training, advancement, and of course, the health of the rain garden. We cannot meet the city's stormwater management needs with infrastructure alone in public space. There must be stormwater management systems on private property as well. So DEP provides financial incentives for installing green infrastructure on private property. Through our capitally funded GI grant program, we funded $13 million across 32 different sites, primarily building green roofs. To complement this program and fund even more green infrastructure on private lands, in 2021, we launched Resilient New York City Partners. This program offers an innovative pay-for-performance contract to fund even larger projects on private lands with large amounts of site-level impervious area. To date, we funded over $9.5 million in private green infrastructure that manages 11 million gallons of stormwater a year on private properties. Private owners who have participated in our program include Greenwood Cemetery, H&H Health and Hospitals, Jacobi Medical Center, and Pratt Institute. DEP is currently working on a project at the Brooklyn Navy Yard and is coordinating with several new potential partners. The city alone cannot manage stormwater because most property in the city is privately owned. It's roughly about 50 to 60%. That makes the Unified Stormwater Rule one of our most powerful tools for on-site stormwater management. Started in early 2022, it requires every site that disturbs 20,000 square feet or more of soil or adds 5,000 square feet or more of new impervious surfaces to manage a certain amount of stormwater on their site. They must submit a stormwater pollution prevention plan, or a SWIP, which requires controls to be in place during construction to protect our sewers and water bodies from soil erosion. As the sites redevelop, they are performing better during wet weather than they were before development. Since this rule was implemented, over 1,400 sites are meeting the new online stormwater management requirements, and an additional 200 sites have constructed or will soon be constructing green infrastructure to further reduce their stormwater runoff. Examples of these projects can be found all over the city. One example includes 585 Union Street in Gowanus. This 9-story, 230,000 square foot building will occupy the entire lot. Before the stormwater rule was in effect, a development like this likely would have just managed stormwater in an underground detention tank. With our rule, they are building a 6,000 square foot green roof and a robust detention system. We even noticed them touting their green roof under building amenities on their website. We also have our largest green infrastructure project to date nearing design completion, the Tibbetts Brook Daylighting Project in the Bronx. The Tibbetts Brook originates in Yonkers and flows through Van Cortlandt Park before discharging into Hester and Piero's Mill Pond. In the early 1900s, the brook was diverted into an 8-foot diameter tunnel that connects to a combined sewer flowing to Ward's Island Wastewater Resource Recovery Facility. Burying streams and creeks and merging them with sewers underground was a common strategy as our city developed. But a century later, we are experiencing unforeseen consequences. Flowing a waterway into a combined sewer reaches that sewer's capacity quickly. The Tibbetts Brook connection has led to significant issues over the years. Instead of building more infrastructure like storage tanks to try to hold the brook, we are going to daylight the brook, disconnecting it from the sewer system and allowing it to flow more naturally. Once completed, not only will this project reduce combined sewer overflows to the Harlem River by 220 million gallons a year, but it will allow for the creation of a new public greenway between Van Cortlandt Park and West 230th Street, enhancing connectivity and access as part of the Empire State Trail. And it bears repeating and mentioning that this is a project in partnership with the Department of Parks and Recreation. A cloudburst is a sudden heavy downpour in a short amount of time. Cloudbursts can overburden the sewer system and cause flooding. Cloudburst management systems capture stormwater until the sewers can handle the flow. Cloudburst management projects often feature special community amenities and open spaces that can be used by the public on dry days. For example, the Cloudburst project designed for NYCHA's South Jamaica Houses is a sunken basketball court that will absorb and divert stormwater during future storms. Most days, the basketball court will provide recreation for residents. During cloudburst events, the stormwater will intentionally be diverted to the court, which will hold the water safely until the rain event is over, taking that rainwater off the street and out of the sewers. And we've provided some pictures of that for you in the testimony. Cloudburst harbors are large-scale cloudburst projects generally designed for a multi-block area where directing, collecting, storing, and transferring stormwater can have a meaningful benefit on localized flood attenuation and the added benefit of CSO reduction. We use existing land and retrofit public spaces to allow for more enhanced stormwater management. These can be implemented more quickly than larger nature-based solutions that may rely on identification of vacant lands or property acquisition. These projects require close coordination with our colleagues at Parks Department, at Transportation, at Department of Education, School Construction Authority, and of course, NYCHA. Stormwater Master Plan in 2024 Stormwater Analysis. DEP's green and gray infrastructure teams are coordinating to develop a stormwater master plan for the city that will lead to a more resilient system overall. This comprehensive stormwater master plan that will assess necessary upgrades, engineer amended drainage plans, and set funding priorities. This planning process will take years, but the results will be targeted approaches to capital investments, including nature-based solutions, where it could help manage surface flooding and longer-term gray infrastructure upgrades. In 2024, DEP released the 2024 Stormwater Analysis, which is the first building block for the master plan. The stormwater management update highlighted the city's challenges with managing stormwater in a changing climate and examined stormwater challenges and solutions in 4 case study locations. Of course, stormwater management cannot be done by DEP in a silo. Work will need to be coordinated among the city agencies mentioned. Fundamental policy decisions will need to be made, in particular, the acceptable levels of service and the level of acceptable flooding in our environment. And DEP will work to inform these decisions. Most of DEP's work is paid for by water and sewer rates. We constantly think about how to balance our needs, the demands of New Yorkers for providing better service, and especially floodwater protection, and the needs to manage our rates to be affordable. DEP aggressively pursues outside funding for our work, and we have had strong successes receiving funding, including federal funding. In particular, our cloudburst projects have been receiving Building Resilient Infrastructure and Community BRIC grants from FEMA. The federal government recently announced that FEMA, or the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is ending the BRIC program and canceling all BRIC applications from federal fiscal years 2020 through 2023. We are still figuring out what impact this may have. We remain in close conversation with our city and state partners as it pertains to our federal funding streams, and will work with these partners to try to mitigate and minimize impact as much as possible. Before I conclude, I will speak briefly about the 2 pieces of legislation being heard today. We have been discussing the bills with your staff and look forward to continued conversations. The first bill on today's agenda is Intro 1253, which would require DEP to notify the local council member 30 days before installing a bioretention system in a right-of-way. We generally support this bill, but want to make some edits. The Department of Design and Construction manages most of DEP's GI projects. DEP and DDC both recognize the importance of speaking with the community and elected officials, and we have a robust outreach plans that are already in place. We've spoken to DDC about this bill, and they are happy to supplement these outreach plans to fill any gaps. We would like to continue discussions with DDC and the council to determine the best way to do that and to make some changes to the bill before it is passed. The second bill is Intro 1254, which would require DEP to install 2,400 greened acres in the MS4, or the Municipal Separated Storm Sewer areas, by 2035. As we discussed with your staff last week, we are fully committed to expanding GI across the city, but we believe that the greened acre metric is not the best indicator of progress. As a quick background for those listening, MS4, oh, I said that already. In this system, separate pipes carry wastewater and stormwater, as opposed to the combined sewer area where the wastewater and stormwater are in one pipe. So as the chair said earlier, 60% of the city has combined sewers and about 40% are MS4 areas or direct drainage. Our first concern for greened acres is that we no longer rely on that as an indicator for our GI program with New York State DEC. At one point in the program, when it began in 2012, there was a greened acre target, but we have since realized that it is not a good metric because of the concept of green acres does not fully capture what the green infrastructure does. We continue to report greened acres, however, in our New York City Greened Infrastructure Annual Report, and we brought a few extra copies of the Greened Infrastructure Annual Report, which was just released on April 30th. Another concern is that we don't know if GI is the best tool to address stormwater management and water quality needs in all of the MS4 areas. As I have described today, DEP has developed a suite of tools because different tools are best suited for different goals and for different areas of the city. Mandating a fixed amount of green to acres could be counterproductive because it could require us to install GI where it is not going to be effective. Finally, the bill's mandate may not be achievable. For the past 13 years, we have been installing GI across combined sewer areas. With our 16,000 assets, we have just reached 2,800 greened acres. The bill requires nearly the same amount of greened acres to be installed in the MS4 areas over the next 10 years. There may simply not be enough time or enough space in the MS4 areas to accomplish that. A minority of the city is MS4, as we stated, and GI is not appropriate for much of that area. For example, we know that many areas with separated sewers in the city, like Southeast Queens, have high groundwater tables, which makes them ineligible for green infrastructure. We share the Council's goals of expanding stormwater management infrastructure through the MS4 areas, and we appreciate the Council's continued support of our efforts. We have already started installing GI in strategic MS4 areas such as schoolyards and street medians with partners like DOT, DOE, and the Trust for Public Land. As the Council is aware, it is important to remember that while green infrastructure provides many community benefits, the goal of the program is not simply to green the city. These are engineered systems that are built to enhance the way the city manages stormwater by reducing CSOs, improving water quality, and reducing flooding where possible. Thank you again to the Council, especially to the committee and Chair Gennaro for your continued support of nature-based solutions for stormwater management and other challenges. My colleagues and I are now happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Licata. We appreciate your comprehensive testimony, as always, and the all the good work you've done that DEP has done on green infrastructure. And before I commence my questioning, could I just see members of the question? Okay, I have to step out for just a minute, so I think I'm going to recognize Councilmember Holden for questions. I'll be very brief, but what's the matter? You okay? I'm just saying, I gotta,
All right.
Yeah, so I
Thank you. All right.
recognize Councilman
first.
Holden to start, and then I'll do my thing.
Great.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Deputy Commissioner. Just a couple of questions, and I don't think I have to be brief now, so I can go on. The average cost of installing a bioswale or a rain garden, what is that? Because I asked another question, and I didn't get an answer at another hearing. Do you have that?
It's about 20,000.
The average cost,
Yeah,
like,
it's somewhere between 15 and 20,000.
All right.
And one other important point is that our green infrastructure program is generally our most cost-effective CSO strategy at this point in time. There were times in the past decades when we invested a lot in gray infrastructure, including combined sewer overflow holding tanks. But those costs have escalated, and the economy of scale that we achieved is no longer available. So the green infrastructure that we're installing now is among the most cost-effective.
do you know how many bioswales were installed in Queens, for instance, or a ballpark?
I don't have that breakdown, but we certainly can get it.
Because I'd like to see, we have to measure outcomes. So for instance, if, you know, in my district, we have a lot of storm water runoff going into the Newtown Creek, which is further polluting the creek. You know that's a vicious cycle. As we get bigger storms, there's more runoff, more sewer backups. We've invested a lot into sewer systems that still can't, like you mentioned, in a cloudburst, or the sewers weren't made to handle the amount of water. And then I'm always battling residents in my district that pave over their yards and then have a constant problem with the Department of Buildings going over and not finding anything wrong with that. And then I had to send them back, and I said, yes, but, you know, there's a law. Did you know this? And no, sometimes buildings, it doesn't trickle down. But here's the biggest problem. I mentioned this to the commissioner. I have a lot of National Grid work being done in my district. I have a lot of Con Ed work. They're installing new electric lines, both above and below ground. And in in National Grid, they're installing gas lines. A lot of tearing up the road beds, a lot of tearing up the sidewalks. Yet, I discovered on all these projects, they're paving over the green strip at the curb, which is so counterproductive. We're putting in bioswales all over the place, yet the bigger picture, we're paving over green space. And just based on no particular plan, there's no particular coordination. I mentioned this to the commissioner a number of times, yet I just had a project near my office. They're doing the same exact thing. They're actually we have more concrete than before the project. Why is that?
Yeah, that's disturbing. And my understanding is that they're supposed to put back what was originally there. So I would love
But even if it was paved over before, why would you pave it over again?
They don't have the same mandate that we have. We can encourage
Who's
them
they?
for best. National Grid.
National Grid, they don't, they're doing in the public realm. They're working on our streets. They're working for the public. They're working for the city, right?
Right.
What do you mean their mandates?
Yeah, no, and I could not agree more, and I think that what we could do is meet with them and see if we could encourage them and DOT to see what the cost differential might be.
Because, you know, I have been bringing this up for several years. You know that. And this commissioner heard this from me a number of times. You're probably hearing it for the first time, but nothing changes. And because, you know, it's frustrating when I'm trying to, you know, put my finger in the dike and, you know, hold back something, and then, you know, battling the green spaces on people's homes and getting them fined because they don't know the law. But then you have National Grid doing it on a massive scale, entire blocks, and I could show you, and I sent pictures to DEP.
I would appreciate seeing those pictures.
And I'll say, look, you know, here's a strip of 4 feet wide, and the whole block, as far as you can see, has been paved over. Because you know what? The homeowner says, yeah, I want that paved over. I don't want to have grass there. And I get it, but that's not good for us. And I try to tell people, don't pave over and have some green strips. And then you get people putting AstroTurf, which, you know, I don't want. I think that's illegal too. You know, I don't know how porous it is, but can we actually get a program?
Bob, I just want to tell you, I'm just going to give you, more latitude. You've got a good thing going here, so keep it up.
Yeah. I just want to respond by saying that we would like to work with you to see how we might be able to address this problem, because I could not agree more that it's a missed opportunity.
Well, should I have, Chair, should we come up with a local law that would require, is that what it's needed here? If we have a local law that would require the city of New York, anytime there's construction, that has to be a green strip at the curb. That's not the homeowner's property. They don't understand that sometimes, and I have a big argument with, like, they're trying to oppose a tree being planted, or they're trying to oppose, they wanted that area, concrete, and I said, no, it's got to be green. We need more green. We need more, where the runoff can go into the ground rather than our sewers. So if that takes a local law, let me know, I'll introduce it.
What I'll do, I've got my legislative director, Josh, if you could, write that up and just have a few moments with Councilmember Holden at his convenience after the hearing or when he leaves the hearing. Make sure we get that on paper. So that's Josh.
Thank you, Chair.
Geshett.
Thank you.
Sure, it's my pleasure.
Councilmember, one thing I would
This is
add-
why we have hearings. This is why we do this. It's not just for me to wear my three-piece suit and look nice. You
We
should
also
have
do
seen
have-
me. You should have seen me on Sunday in my tuxedo. Forget about it. Yeah, forget about it. Angela's seen some of the pictures already. Yeah.
Councilman, I was just going to add that we also do regular meetings with the utilities, so I think that that's something that we'll put at the top of our agenda for the next meeting that we have with them, and can report back to you after that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Marmorato.
Thank you.
If I'm going to do for Holden, I have to do for Marmorato. It's only fair. And plus,
I'm
I
gonna
really
be very
like,
quick.
and plus, I really like the Bronx. And so I recognize Councilmember Marmorato for questions.
Thank you, Chair. So last year, I did a walkthrough with the DEP team, and I kind of felt like the only thing I walked away with was to tell my constituents to constantly report flooding through 311. And we have been just constantly devastated by flooding with every simple rainstorm, to the point where people kind of feel like this is a natural way of life and they have to like combat it on their own, and they don't think to put the 311 calls because this is just normal to them. Is there any way that we can do another walkthrough in my district? Because now you're saying that you're coming up with all these different kinds of solutions to help combat the flooding. If we can identify areas and different portions of the neighborhood just to see what we can do, or at least get the conversation started to have the ball rolling where eventually we can offset some of the flooding. And especially with the city of Yes, I have Locust Point as one of my bigger flooding zones, and we have somebody coming in that's gonna build 6 3-family houses right next to wetlands, and it's just like, this is already a street that floods constantly with rain. So I just wanna know if we can at least start a conversation, just get an understanding, and at least inform me so I can inform my constituents and see how we can like fix things or make things better. Because I know you're not gonna redo my sewers. There's no money in the budget for all of this.
No, we can absolutely set that up. And one of the things, as Deputy Commissioner mentioned earlier, about the Unified Stormwater Rule, or the Stormwater Rule, is as those new buildings come up and come online, they're going to start managing stormwater that otherwise was not managed before in the same way. So hopefully that will be some of a benefit. We can certainly take a look if there are any green infrastructure opportunities, or if there's a more simple solution to what the flooding may be, whether that's a street regrading or other issues. We can figure out, first of all, what's causing the flooding.
Okay, great, thank you. I'd like to get in contact with you guys sooner or later, because now it's kind of more of the rainy season, I feel. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Chair, and congratulations.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, appreciate that. As is my sort of pattern, I'll go through your written testimony, and then I have prepared questions from staff. And I will mention to Bob though. Do you know the DEP Borough Commissioner, Mr. Lopez, Alfonso Lopez? Do you know who he is, Bob? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like a really good guy, and you go to him, he's my constituent. He lives right near my DO, and he's used to work for the mayor's office. He does a great job as the borough commissioner, and he sometimes is a great first stop, sometimes a last stop as well, because he's a closer. And so you should tell Alfonso that I mentioned him, okay? Oh, and we're joined by Councilman Ressler. Very happy to have him here. If I had his hair, I'd be governor, but that's another story. Usually I make a lot of notes here. Yeah, no, my page doesn't qualify, and my page doesn't, page of my testimony doesn't connect with your page because DEP was nice enough to give me like a large print version of your testimony, but this has to do with citywide Blue Belt locations. And you indicated in your statement where there's no obvious parks, partnership, DEP looks for other city-owned and vacant land opportunities. And I was just wondering how sort of structured that was. Is this like an ongoing initiative, or is there some sort of metric that they use, or some sort of specified, periodic outreach to do this? I just wondered about like the mechanics of how those interactions with other city-owned or vacant land opportunities. How does that work?
Councilmember, are you talking about the green infrastructure or blue belts?
Blue belts.
Yeah, blue belts. Blue belts. Yeah, DEP looks for opportunities to implement blue belts and watersheds or whatever, and so it goes. It talks about the ongoing interaction with the Parks Department, and and where there is no obvious parks partnership, DEP looks for other city-owned or vacant land opportunities. And I'm just wondering how that has been
Sure.
how that's been set out and how that works.
To begin.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that's an excellent question, and it really varies according to the area that we're studying. So historically, when we developed the Blue Belt program in Staten Island, the idea was that the traditional way of sewering would be much more expensive and would also require and mean that wetlands would be drained and most likely eliminated, which would not be easy to permit through New York City DEC, who at that time had developed strict regulations to protect wetlands, and that were greater than 12.4
Right,
acres at that
12.4,
time.
yep.
Yeah, so what we did is we were able to sewer the various streets and developed networks with homes that had no storm sewers, and we were then able to locate where those might then be intersected in a way that is configured as like a ribbon, is the way I've always
Right.
tried to think about it. And then that stormwater could be developed into a park amenity, such as some type of a pond, maybe already wetland that was situated within a park that needed to be rehabilitated, restored, and upgraded. And so we were able to commingle all of those benefits together with the Parks Department, and we created many beautiful amenities for the community, as well as obviously incredible stormwater management. At certain locations where there was not already a park or a wetland feature, we were looking at private property acquisition, and we acquired quite a lot of land in Staten Island to do then the very same thing. We would construct.
How many acres did the DEP purchase because I remember that they were doing like a land act thing in Staten Island. Is that still growing, or was that sort of planned and is now complete? How does that
Yeah, I
work?
don't have the number off the cuff, but we could certainly get that to you, because that was not only an acquisition for the benefit of stormwater management, but as you know, preservation of land, and created quite a lot of land that is now in the public realm in Staten Island. And we're trying to
And
replicate.
that, now is that land, once purchased, does that have Parks Land designation?
Some of those lands were transferred to parks if they had a park land need and use and could maintain it. A lot of the property is managed by DEP itself.
Okay, because once it has parkland designation, it would have to be, alienated in order to be used for something else. And
Yeah,
so-
unless it was considered an enhancement or a amenity to the park. So there were a lot of parks in Staten Island. Gratefully, they had acquired those properties and
Right.
they had protected them, but they were in desperate need of rehabilitation and an opportunity to regrade them in certain instances or enhance their natural features was available to us, and the results were stunning. And those neighborhoods, some in the adjoining neighborhoods, have indicated that their property values actually increased as a result of that Blue Belt program.
Great, so the answer is that, once the need is perceived, DEP goes out and tries to figure out a way to make it happen. I'm just wondering if there was like a big board someplace about, because notwithstanding having a first in the nation green infrastructure, look at our flooding problems. Look at the bill we just passed last week. So with the comprehensive, stormwater management plan, which is really just putting like the cherry on top of what you're all doing with regard to stormwater management and so, notwithstanding all we've done, it's just like nature is caught up and is like overtaking us, and we're going to be, I guess, doing a lot of gray infrastructure, going forward. But that's not the subject of this hearing. And so let me see what else I have in your statement. This is going to be a question. I'm going to give myself a little bit of latitude here. This part of the statement is information about various types of green infrastructure and a map of right-of-way assets around the city are included at the end of this testimony. Okay, and so whoever wants to step forward from the Parks Department, I have a question about the city's right-of-way and trees.
We're going to call Marit Lawson,
Sure.
Commissioner.
Now, I think the council's going to want to do the affirmation thing.
Good afternoon. Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions?
Pardon?
Yes.
Okay,
I do.
okay.
Thanks. You may begin when you're ready, and please just state your name and title for the record.
Yeah, I'm going to ask the question, and when they answer, they'll state their name. This is a little. I'm giving myself a little latitude here. I've got a bill that I'm contemplating, which is very much in line with DEP thinking about how to increase or maintain the city's tree canopy, and it's just a stone fact that that we all know about the right-of-way that the city reserves for itself. I happen to live on a street where the city has a 60-foot wide right-of-way that it maintains, but the street is only 28 feet wide, pretty average-sized street. But the city's right-of-way is 60 feet. So from the center of the street to the curb, it would be, what did I say, 28 feet? So it's 14 feet to the curb, then it would go another 16 feet. And there is this notion that trees that are planted on the little strip of grass between the curb and the sidewalk, those are like city trees. Anything that's on like the property side of the sidewalk is like fair game for tree contractors, for residents to hire tree contractors to take down trees, and it happens all the time. And trees within the right-of-way, whatever the right-of-way is, those trees are not allowed to be cut down. And so I have a bill in the offing that would, well, we're still kind of playing with it, but it would mandate, mandate more education on the part of parks to both, I don't think too many residents are taking down their own trees, but both for residents and for contractors that do tree removal and tree servicing in order to, I live in an area that has many, many old growth trees, and properties get redeveloped, trees that are deep into the property, 100 years old, what are you going to do? Not going to tell a person what they can do, like with their trees. But with regard to trees that are in the city right-of-way, that is a real loss of tree canopy, and adds to the urban heat island effect. And so I guess you're probably wondering if there's a question in your future, but let me see if I can get there. What is the Parks Department's current disposition regarding the phenomenon of trees that are on the property side of the sidewalk, but within the city right-of-way being taken? Because I've called the Parks Department when I've seen this happen, when they're just about to kind of like put like the chainsaw, and I take out my council identification and say I have to make a phone call, and then somebody comes down from forestry and they take a measurement and they say, I'm sorry, you can't take this tree down. But at my current age and weight, I cannot be everywhere. And so, so I was wondering what exists now in the Parks Department in terms of some effort to try to educate people to not do this, and to the extent that this happens, would those that perpetrate this be subject to the same kind of penalties that one who cuts a tree that's between like the curb and the sidewalk, which everybody knows is a city tree? Anybody who does that knows they're guilty. So how does the Parks Department handle this? Because old growth trees are being lost every day to this phenomenon, and the Parks Department can't be every place either. But to the extent that there was some concerted effort to try to control this phenomenon, I'm wondering what the Parks Department does regarding that.
Sure. Matt Drury, I'm the Chief of Citywide Legislative Affairs for New York City Parks. Thanks for having us, and Mazel Tov to your daughter and family.
Oh, you missed it. You missed it, pal.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
sounds like quite the to-do. So firstly, thank you for your support and your vigilance, apparently, in terms of monitoring this.
Not apparently. I'm stating this as fact.
Yes, very much so, and that's appreciated. And in those instances, as you noted, we do, if it is a tree within the right-of-way as it's defined.
Right, but I'm wondering how the parks is going into the Ivory Tower and identifying this as a problem and coming up with a solution.
Yeah. So firstly, I think,
by the way, just a second. I got a question. Josh, did we put this bill in? Oh, okay, so, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say that Josh said yes, because he's not at a mark. Okay, so, the bill's in.
Yeah, and we'd be happy to kind of engage with you further on it. We think there are definitely opportunities, always opportunities to improve communication and education. It is admittedly, it can be a little, confusing or challenging to kind of envision the right of way in many
My
ways.
question is really like, what's going on now in the Parks Department?
Right. I think I can thankfully report, and we can circle back to our teams to get more exact metrics here. I don't think it's
looking for it
rampant.
now.
I mean, to be clear, it's something we take very seriously. And if we become aware of a situation where a tree may be removed that is indeed in the right of way, for example, if we get like a tree, if we get the notion that someone is doing tree-related work, or if there's through whether our permit process or what have you, if that comes to our attention, that's something where we work very closely with that property owner to make sure they're well aware that the penalties remain the same.
That's not happening.
Can we be doing more? I'm sure we could, and we'd be happy to work with you and your team on that.
Let me make the thing real simple, and I don't know so you're the intergovernmental person, okay, and you're good at your job, and so you gave the perfect answer for an intergovernmental person to give, and but the other witness is more involved in
not in our street tree canopy. So our forestry director, which oversees our park and street trees,
Right.
and Commissioner Larson is incredible. You can hear from her about a variety of different things, largely focused on our natural areas and sort of which is more closer to the sort of directly germane topic of this hearing. So our assistant commissioner for forestry is not
I
here
just
at the
couldn't
moment.
resist, and think when we mentioned the right of way, of course it's going to ring a bell with me. So I'm gonna, because
Well,
I know
yeah.
there's a big right of way problem in terms of tree removal,
Yeah, we'd be happy to.
which DEP hates when that happens.
Of course, happy to engage with our forestry team, which again focused more squarely on street trees. Not here at the moment, but happy to take this back. We are aware of the bill. Want to work with you and your team on that.
Okay, yeah, because this is a big, a big loss, and homeowners don't even know of the existence of a right-of-way. I suspect the tree contractors do, but they're just happy to take the money and take the job, and that's what happens. So thank you for that. We're joined by Councilmember Aviles. Okay. And so thank you for that, because did you know about the bill before this, or you're just hearing about it now?
No. I believe we were aware. It's my.
Oh, okay, yeah, because this is something that we have to figure out some way we do, education and enforcement and penalties on this, because planting trees all over the place, but if you have a tree that's 75 or 85 years old, I mean, that's the kind of tree canopy that, you can't snap your fingers and make that happen. And so now you know that is coming. Okay, back to DEP, and it's talking about managing the green infrastructure. We strive to keep our I'm reading. We strive to keep our rain gardens healthy and performing by visiting rain gardens every 4 to 6 weeks. And then there's this whole data-driven thing where you try to figure all that out. And when the team, which I assume is a DEP team, goes to the rain garden. Now, litter is removed from it when you go and visit the rain garden, or do they just make an assessment of it? Like what happens when the team goes to the rain garden?
When they're deployed, they're managing and by cleaning, and then they're also assessing for vegetation, what plants maybe need to be replaced.
Yeah, because you're getting ahead of me, because the rain gardens sometimes become 6-foot tall weeds, and shame on the homeowner for not. I mean, come on, this thing's in front of your house. You got 6 feet tall weeds, and so that's. Some people just like to be neglectful, and they're comfortable with that, and so your folks go to the site, pull out garbage, which is unsightly, and with regard to managing the height of the flora that's there, do they cut it and make a note that maybe there should be other flora in here instead of the weeds that have taken over from the flora that was planted when it was first created as a rain garden? How does all that work?
Those are very, very timely questions. I'm so happy to be able to answer them now because we are in the part of the program where we've been building assets for over 10 years, and we are assessing in a very analytical way what is the rain garden potentially in need of. Are we experiencing a tremendous amount of trash, and why is that? Is it potentially located next to a bus stop? What else may be going on? What can we do with sanitation to be able to maybe address the street more routinely? Because, as you know, the rain garden would not be the only place where the litter would be observed. Generally speaking, it's in an area where there's also a lot of litter on the adjacent roadway. So we've been in discussions with them. In regards to vegetation, that's exactly what we do. We look at what trimming is needed and what planting, where we generally have the opportunity to do that in the spring and the fall, because that's when plants like to be pruned, and that's when plants generally like to be replanted or planted for the first time. Seeding can also happen. In some locations, we determine whether or not that planting pallet's appropriate. Maybe it needs to be modified, so we're also taking note of that and triaging that. And then in the most extreme cases, does that rain garden sit well within that particular community? We have some business districts where a rain garden may be under attack, which is the way I look at it, because there's a lot of commercial activity there. It's a rough go for a particular rain garden.
Right.
So the idea would be maybe that needs to be more of an infiltration basin. The thing about what we observe from the street
So if you're
level,
taking it from a rain garden to a penetration basin, what?
yeah, those are the ones where
Yeah, what does that look like?
in some locations, instead of a rain garden where it's a vegetated top, we have either a concrete top or a planted strip on top. Generally speaking, because the homeowner would like to maintain the look and feel of what was there before and what is on continuous look and feel to their block. The important thing as far as DEP is concerned, as we look at those rain gardens or infiltration basins, whatever the typology may be, is how is it performing for stormwater? And I'm pleased to be able to say in most cases, that's where they're performing extremely well. Those assets are still taking stormwater into the inlets, and then that is infiltrated into the ground. And so that's what's really important. Many people don't realize, they think only what's appears on the surface is what's been developed or built, but the engineering that goes into the asset is actually occurring for the entire 5 feet below the surface.
Right, yes, this is much different kind of absorption than the grass strip that's just like down the street.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of, subterranean engineering that makes that happen. Many years ago, I passed a bill about like some of the plantings on center meetings. This is like before the days of rain gardens, like drought-resistant plantings or whatever. I don't know if that's a thing. I just happened to I forgot about that bill like 20 years ago. Is that part of the mix in terms of like where the rain gardens are? Because I know they're meant to absorb water, but sometimes we don't want the vegetation dying, and so sometimes like the drought-resistant planting could potentially, in this case, although that bill was written for just median plantings that had nothing to do with rain gardens, I don't know if drought-resistant plantings are part of the menu for what gets planted there. Is that a thing?
I think that's right. I think you have it. I mean, within the rain garden itself, we want it to not be so much drought tolerant, but to also be a plant that can accept a lot of water and be able to survive in a more moist environment.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Good point there. And right below that, you talk about, in your statement, more time spent on litter control means less crew time available for other work like soil enhancement, tree pruning, plantings, and horticultural services. They're important for maintenance, staff, recruitment, job satisfaction. So these are DE people that are involved in soil enhancement, tree pruning, planting, horticultural. So is the Parks Department get jealous, or how does that work? No.
We actually use some of the parks titles because that's the type of work that is actually happening.
Oh, I see. So you have some parks titles that are actually.
But they are DP, yeah. And I want to give a shout out to OMB, our task force, Stephen Malmberg, and Selene Young, and Gianna Parisi have been really, really supportive and have been really great partners, thought partners on looking at the budgeting that is necessary to maintain these assets as we grow the program. They've been very cooperative with us. We just got an additional 25 seasonals that were approved by OMB that we're trying to onboard. Currently, we have about 61 staff. We've also been working very closely with OMB on the types of vehicles that we need for maintenance purposes, and they've been working very hard to help us understand those types of budgetary needs, frankly. But we do have a very robust staff. We also have a program that was just funded that is a workforce development program whereby we will be privatizing some of the green infrastructure assets, about 1,000 of them, to the Doe Fund. And they will help us not only to train, but also to recruit staff that could then move into the city's pipeline. There's a lot of the jobs that we have under the green infrastructure program are in fact entry-level jobs, and they do build life skills for those employees. And when they're seasonal employees, if they're good workers, we tend to offer them a permanent job as well.
Great. I remember OMB fondly. I worked at OMB from 1983 to 85, and so I think a lot of my colleagues are retired, but if you need, oh, you work for OMB as well?
I started my career at OMB as well.
Oh, yeah, so I was going to say, if you need anything from them, mention my name, but you should mention your own name because they don't know who I am anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish going through my statement, and before I get to my prepared questions, I'm going to call on Councilmember Aviles to ask her questions. This is a very busy time of year for council members. We've got a primary coming up. I'm not supposed to talk about politics, but you know, it's a reality that people are running around doing things. And so thank you for your attention to the SWPPP. I know this is, it's got developers going out of their minds. I've spoken with the commissioner about it. There are things coming down things coming down the line regarding how we maintain like a good balance between getting the benefits from the SWPPP and getting projects to move. And so right now we have one and not the other. So we're going to get both. So any developers watching on wherever this is broadcast should know that. So I've had productive conversations with the commissioner on that. Yeah, you talked about brick grants from FEMA and the new administration ending the brick program, and you talked about, you're trying to figure out what impact this may have. Where do we think this is going? Kind of difficult to imagine that the state is going to help us out, because even when we get federal funds, that we get federal funds through the state, we don't get them. And so by the formula that has been made for all kinds of, like whether it's the Bond Act, federal funds, whatever. And so we're just like a small town on the Hudson, and we get cheated all the time. So in the absence of brick funding, what do you think the prognosis is? And what is going to be the sort of like the result of that kind of not so good prognosis? We can always do bad news here. We do bad news at hearings, and so
It's very
It's a bad news
upsetting and
question.
disturbing after all of the success that we had in securing over $240 million in brick funding. I don't know where this is going to end necessarily. We're in, as we said in the testimony, conversations with the oversights. The one thing I know is that we are funded in the city for cloudbursts that we plan
Right.
on doing. We are about 60% design, so we have a budget estimate for those. We believe that we can accomplish those four with the current city funding. What would be, and we have an additional two, one that was funded under another federal program, and another project that also currently has funding, so that would bring us to about 5 or 6.
Right.
The impact would be if the brick funding is eliminated, that we could not reach further down our list. So when we developed our cloudburst projects, we had about 31 cloudburst hubs that looked very good to us in terms of cost benefit and the amount of flooding that would be alleviated. We were hoping with that federal funding to be able to leverage that
Right.
and get further down the list. So that's the impact,
Okay.
in short, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And getting to the bills, I think your testimony on intro 1253 is fine. That's about the notification thing. Want to loop in DDC. There's a smart and a less smart way to do anything. We want to do that the smart way, and that sounds very reasonable. 1254 with the MS4 areas. I mean, I hear you in terms of what you've been able to, do in the in the combined sewer areas. What we're trying to get at with 1254 is that a lot of the green infrastructure has gone into the 60% of the city with combined sewers because of the CSO problem and the CSO consent order. And it was really an attempt to kind of like, level the playing field like a little bit, because the MS4 areas, we're not getting that kind of, greenery, but as you, mentioned, there are impediments there and areas that would be completely, that we, couldn't consider at all by virtue of the high water table. Still want to do something though, and so, took all of your, analysis, to heart here. But I think we're still of the mind that we want to try to, work in a concerted way with DEP to get like something done there. Do you have a follow, do you have a response to that? So, what are your thoughts on what I just said?
Yeah, first, our appreciation for your attention to this issue, because it is very important although it is only about 30% of the city, it is very important to address flooding concerns in the MS4 area. And so we do have, the good news is approximately $28 million in upcoming projects within the MS4 area, and we've completed quite a lot of projects to date. We are struggling with a metric for how to measure the amount that we could complete in the MS4 area, but we certainly do track the water quality volume, because in the MS4 area, the goal is not CSO reduction, but the goal rather is to treat the stormwater and to eliminate the pollutants that don't ever get to a wastewater resource recovery facility before it's discharged. You mentioned earlier in your opening remarks that we do treat for floatables, we get that through the catch basin hoods, but you're right, there are other pollutants in the stormwater that we want to address. So certainly needs to be part of the strategy, needs to be part of our attention, and not to mention, of course, the flooding controls that are necessary there. You're also very correct in your mentioning of the state's consent order change. So in 2023, the modification to the order that we renegotiated with the New York State DEC.
Yeah, talk about that. Talk about that if you
Yeah.
would. So help me out there. I'm not very facile with that.
Yeah, no, but I could tell you're recalling that some of that occurred. And yes, what we have there is a volumetric goal for CSO reduction. We want to reduce CSOs by 1.6 billion gallons a year through green infrastructure measures, as well as we now have a monetary obligation to spend. But the state did recognize that we need to build resilience in the City of New York, and so we pushed very hard for them to accept that, as under that consent order there could be spending that would improve water quality in the MS4 and then also be co-benefits with resiliency. So we do have that opportunity at this point.
Thank you. And with regard to areas in Southeast Queens and other areas of the city that have no storm sewer infrastructure, I guess they would not be MS4 areas, right? Because they don't have storm sewers. So, like, what are they called? So to me, in order to be an MS4 area, you've got a dedicated sanitary sewer, and you got the storm flow that goes out to a local waterway with sort of minimal treatment, let's say. But if you don't have any storm sewer infrastructure, is that an MS4 area, or what is it?
No, it's not, and especially in areas in Southeast Queens, like we said, the high water table is an issue, so that might not be the right fit. Depending.
Well, I'm just saying, but they have a high water table, they have flooding problems, and they have no storm sewer infrastructure whatsoever. I think they would benefit from that, right? I mean,
Not necessarily. Depending on if what you're looking for is to reduce flooding, a green infrastructure on a high water table.
no, but I'm just saying, I'm putting apart the, putting aside the green infrastructure. I'm just talking about, Southeast Queens, I think, is a great candidate for gray infrastructure because, at least they'll have drains that will take the water away, to have, because right now Southeast Queens is, with no storm sewer, those parts that don't have storm sewers, it's already one big green infrastructure thing, right? Or you don't have anything to catch the stormwater and to try to process it and assimilate it, but the natural areas that then like the non-paved areas like that, that's all there is. And so this is sort of a commercial for like gray infrastructure in those areas. I think the green infrastructure, not the ticket, but so those areas are not designated as MS4. They just
They're not, but they're also receiving probably more money than most parts of the city for gray infrastructure upgrades.
This is one of the, I know that there's a lot of, projects going on down there, so, but what we don't have and may not have for a long time is, even one piece of paper at left rack that says this is like the build-out date for, Southeast Queens and other areas of the city that don't have any storm sewer infrastructure. This is the date certain by which we're going to build out this infrastructure. And as we contemplate things like going from 1.75 inches per hour to 2.1 or whatever the number's going to be, depending upon how the comprehensive stormwater management plan works out in terms of increased, storm sewer capacity. We still have areas of the city. So we got areas of the city that have 1.75 going up to some number bigger than that. You still have the areas that are like at 0. And so this is my point, that I think, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do that bill that we just did, because there are areas of the city that just don't have any storm sewer infrastructure, combined with the high water table. I mean, they're really getting it both ways since we ramped down use of the former Jamaica Water Service wells from 100 MGD to whatever it is today, some low number. Well, but some water is pumped to waste, right? Otherwise, storm sewers. But like, wouldn't subway tunnels flood because as we shut down the wells and like the water table resumed to pre-Jamaica Water Service levels. So right now, so when you say nothing's being pumped, it means like it's not being pumped for potable use. So there's 0 going into the distribution system. But I think there's still some water being pumped to waste. And I guess how much water is that and where does it go?
I don't know what the quantity of that is, but it's from various parts of the aquifers, and we've had these discussions
Right.
in the past before. So I don't think that the pumping that's happening in the upper glacial is getting down to where the Jamaica supply was in the Magathie or even the
Right.
Floyd. Yeah.
Right. But I'm just saying, the water that gets pumped to waste, to the extent that that happens, like, where does it go?
Into the sewer system, and generally speaking, that requires a DEP permit.
Okay. So, it would go into a sewer, which would, and that's not a combined sewer area. So, it would go to a local, water body. Okay.
Or the sanitary sewer, where there's no storm sewer.
Oh, yeah. Then we're talking capacity problems, potentially. Wow. I don't think I'm going to work for DEP anytime soon. It seems very complicated. I don't know if I got it up here to figure all that stuff out.
Yeah.
And with that, what's that? Oh, okay. Yeah. I have to excuse myself again. I'm going to put one of my colleagues on. Do you ever have an MRI where you get the contrast? And then they say this contrast is pretty funky stuff, So they said, like, drink like there's no tomorrow for like the next 2 days. I'm like, what did you just put in me? I'm like, well, this is on the record. Yeah, this is classic Gennaro colloquy that's going on the record that people can read 100 years from now. People say what was contrast? And so, that's the story. Is if people needed to hear that or whatever. And I've had contrast before where they didn't give me the speech, But yesterday, I got the speech, saying you know, this is pretty funky stuff. You should like get this out of your system as soon as possible. Now, with everyone so enlightened now about the toxins coursing through my body right now, this is the perfect time to go from toxic to wonderful with my colleague, Councilmember Aviles, who I now recognize for questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Gennaro. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to ask you probably a couple of disconnected questions, so forgive me, and I didn't get to hear your testimony, so it may be covering some things that were in fact in your testimony. And as I understand, is DEP and Parks Department? Okay, thank you. So I guess let's start with the 2023 consent decree, consent order modification that requires DEP to track the constructed green infrastructure assets in a data set that the state refers to as the New York City Green Hub. Additionally, DEP maintains a green infrastructure data set, New York City Open Data. Are the two data sets the same? Do they communicate?
So they are not the same, and I will explain the difference. The Green Hub asset tracking system is it's what DEP uses to keep track of the areas that we have visited and assessed for appropriateness for green infrastructure. So it's assets that have also been rejected and assets that we're carrying forward into the process. And we're looking at that during the various stages of planning, investigation, as I mentioned. You might have boring information, which is geotech work, design and construction. And then the open data set is really available for communities to better understand the assets that most certainly will be implemented. Those are the ones that are in design, heading to construction, or have been constructed.
Got it. So if I understand correctly, it means the Green Hub is more the pre-planning development data set that you utilize internally, and New York City Open Data captures ones that are in process, like in construction.
Exactly, that are designed and most certainly expected to lead to a constructed asset.
Great. We note here that DEP must calculate the volume of the combined sewer overflow reduction attributable to green infrastructure assets. Is that also, I understand that that's part of the consent order. Is that metric also available on New York City Open Data?
I don't know if it's on open data. No. Okay, but we do track it in, this is our annual report, which was just issued April 30th. We have a yearly report, and we look at the number of assets. It gives you the type of asset that was constructed, obviously where the asset was built, and the volume managed that we roll up. So we have an estimated about 600 million gallons a year that is now being addressed with our green infrastructure program.
So when you say the volume managed, it also that also includes the reduction levels.
That's our CSO abated.
Great. And so the beautiful report, I assume, is findable online on
Yes.
DEP's website?
Yes.
Okay, great. In terms of, I wonder in terms of nature-based solutions, I wondered if DEP has ever considered using street creeks and how it engages with using, kind of the natural geography where water is kind of moving underneath, because we see the natural geography certainly directs water regardless of what we do in the built infrastructure. So I was curious around how DEP is using, our natural geography to manage some element of water management.
Yeah, we spoke a little bit about that earlier, the history of the Blue Belt program, and how that took into account and respected the existing streams that were present and low depressional points that might have existed within parks. Some of those were wetlands, and they were greater than 12.4 acres, so they were protected by DEC. You would at least have to get a permit. There were some areas that were outside and adjacent areas of those wetlands, and they were vulnerable to redevelopment. DP worked with the Parks Department to utilize a lot of the natural areas that they protected by creating these parklands, and then we also purchased property that had naturally wet features or topography that allowed for storage by creating ponds and extended detention areas. So that is something that we've done. There's a team here behind me that is still looking at how best to continue to promote those practices citywide. A lot of those assets that I described as part of the Blue Belt program occurred in Staten Island, which was the most intact borough, of course, but there are opportunities elsewhere, and we do have some examples that are more limited in physical extent, but do exist in the outer boroughs, and they are going through all of that material now to see where the opportunities currently exist and where they can be created.
Right. Right. No, I have a recent example of some students that were studying some resiliency elements within Red Hook and noted that where they thought they would be finding salt water, they were finding fresh water, and noted in looking at some old maps that the fresh water was finding its way in certain parts of the neighborhood because it reflected the natural topography. And so part of the question whether it was flooding, or at least they thought it was flooding, they thought it was salt water because we have rain, that in fact it was something slightly different. So of course we were thinking, what are the kind of nature-based solutions that you could potentially do, but also even Greenwood Cemetery, which is a really significant piece of land that really helps flood mitigation for Sunset Park and that whole entire area in the other part of my district. So just curious about how DEP certainly is looking at all these opportunities and where it's kind of matching what makes sense. I know the built environment is really challenging in certain regards, and there are probably other variables. So just curious about this new thing that I heard about, which is probably old news to you all, about street creeks and what other kind of nature-based solutions we could continue to employ there. So just really quickly, in terms of, I think huge supporter certainly of nature-based solutions. So thank you for all the work that you all have managed to deploy throughout the city. Obviously, it's really critical for the future of our city regarding climate change. But in terms of the bioretention systems that were installed, like how many were installed over the last year?
It was in my testimony. I think we set up 2,400 assets this past year.
And that's across the city, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a total of about 16,000 now.
Got it. And I think you probably covered this as well in terms of, I guess managing those assets in terms of cleaning and doing all of that. Is that a DEP function or is that shared with another agency?
It is a DEP function, and we've been working very hard to develop crews as the assets come online that can do the maintenance that is required. And we were discussing earlier that we have about 60 staff or so that are online now. We have another 25 seasonals that were approved by OMB. We have 8 of those in the pipeline. We need to get them onboarded as quickly as possible. And so we feel that we're well-resourced. Of course, we need specialty equipment as well now because we have increased our typology. The goal is to develop a toolbox that is as robust as possible so that we can customize the fit when we're in the landscape in New York City. As we know, our neighborhoods are very different. The areas and what you can fit in comfortably within a community, what a community will accept, really varies across the city.
And in terms of like on a meta level, like in Sunset Park, we have had medians that are being raised, and primarily I think it's the train line runs underneath. So there may be a more technical reason why we did this, but of course we see vegetation. We're very excited about it. But I'm curious around what is the collaboration for these kinds of projects? Like, is there a resiliency lens that is being used when these kinds of projects are coming online? I guess I'm curious about what the vegetation is that is put in there, and there's a consistent problem with trash, but apparently since it's under construction, I understand the contractor is currently responsible for that. But when that moves away, does that become part of DEP? Is it Parks? Is it DOT?
It's not DEP.
It's not DEP, okay. It might be Parks. It might not be either.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it depends on the stretch. Is the short answer.
Yeah,
Like whether it's
yeah.
designated. There are certain stretches that are designated as green streets, like per an MOU with DOT, and that's the case. But broadly speaking, you know, I think that's DOT/Department of Sanitation.
Is there, I guess that, we'll get there, especially when the project is done. But in terms of the lens, I'm curious, like, is there a resiliency, nature-based lens put onto these projects before they are built out, or is that only done when requested?
I will say, I can answer from my own perspective.
Yeah.
So, and I really appreciate and I like your observation, because one of the things that we know, in order to achieve our goals, we're going to be working in the right of way, and we're definitely going to need the public realm, so any of the land that is in the city's possession, to be part of the solution. So we do try, when we initiate a project, to look at it through that resiliency lens, to work with the owner of the property, that may be DOT in some instances, and to see how they have, of course, transportation goals, and we need to manage and meet those, but how can we and where can we have partnerships that work with them? So when DEP initiates a project, that's how we look at it, and we are transforming some very large medians in the city. I'm not familiar enough with yours that you mentioned, so I would need to see those on a map and work with the project management team.
Yeah, I can follow up. Last question, and thank you for the generosity of time. Similarly, the BQE structure, right? Everybody knows the BQE and its glory. I was curious about, have there been any studies around how we manage water? Because now, like, I'm thinking 3rd Avenue, if you're familiar with Brooklyn, right? We have the BQE running. It's constantly flooded, right? It's managing the water that's coming from the structure, the superstructure above, including the water that's below, because the neighborhood runs downward, right? Has DEP looked at any kind of nature-based potential solution around how to manage that kind of water flow? And I guess what I'm thinking of is like, where is it? In Spain, they have Villa Verde, where they were using these green, I don't know what they're called, the structure that holds the highway, doing kind of plant-based in those structures, both for air quality, but also for some water. So I was just curious, like, has DEP struggled at all with, are there any interventions around this infrastructure that could help either with water or air or noise? I mean, those are the 3 challenges, among others, that come from the structure itself.
Yeah, I'd really like to take a look at that. Where is that in Spain? I'm just sure we can Google and take some. I'm just curious if it's vertical or horizontal. And to answer your question pointedly with respect to the BQE, we did look very early on. We had a lot of environmental stakeholders that rightly pointed out that this looks like a missed opportunity, because we have all this space here and there's all this water running off of the elevated highway. What can we do in that area below the elevated portions of the roadway? It was very difficult to identify ecological choices that would survive in that very dank, very light deprived environment. So we shied away from that. Maybe it's time to go and revisit that, because I was getting a vision of something maybe more vertical that might make sense in a location like that. Through the MS4 permit, we have and we are continuing to evaluate all what we call arterial highways. And forgive me for the jargon, but that is the roadways in the city where we have these major arterials. They may be state-owned, they may be city-owned.
Yep.
And where is that water running? And what are the opportunities that we might have to address that water, either in terms of volume or in terms of water quality? So that is a study that is still in progress, and it is being cost-shared between DOT and DEP.
And when is the time frame for the study?
It's the last year of, so 3 years is probably more like a 5-year study. But we have been discovering new information about ownership on arterial highways as well as where the water is going. The benefit of that project, the biggest benefit of that project is not just the intelligence around the water routing, but is also because to do the TV inspection to understand the direction of the water, we've had to do a lot of cleaning. So we're getting a lot of benefit from the contractor to do a lot of maintenance and cleaning along the way.
Got it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Aviles. Always a pleasure. And now it's also my pleasure to recognize Councilmember Ressler for questions.
Thank you so much, Chair. And I want to thank the DEP team for your thoughtful work on these issues and your partnership in District 33. Just specifically want to recognize Deputy Commissioner Licata for her initiative in revamping the Newtown Creek Long-Term Control Plan. And I want to thank Melissa for her partnership, particularly in McCarran Park, where we have 2 sites that I think are going to be tremendous green infrastructure projects for our community, that we're really grateful for your all's responsiveness and partnership in our community. I had the privilege for stepping in for our chair at the budget hearing, and forgive me if the stuff in my brain didn't stick exactly the right way, but the thing that I was kind of kicking myself after the hearing that I felt like I should have pushed the commissioner on more was that I think he said basically that you all have identified 86 locations where we have severe flooding risks, and it's going to cost about $30 billion to upgrade our infrastructure to better protect communities in those areas. We've got about $10 billion funded, and it's a 30-year timeline. Is that broadly, did I get those things right? Okay, so I was listening. And I know there aren't magic wands, and I know that doing $30 billion of work can't happen in a year or 2. And at the same time, it's really freaking hard to look a community in the eye and say, yes, we recognize you have a severe flooding crisis in your community, your highly vulnerable area, and we are going to get to it in 30 years. Like, how do we, I don't know, square that circle? Like, help me, think through this, because to me that just feels like I appreciate the reasonable constraints that you face, and at the same time, the answer is totally unacceptable, right? And so and I know you're spending more on capital money, the DP capital budget has increased significantly, including more funding going to issues like the things that we all care about, the focus of this hearing today. I realize there's improvements happening under Commissioner Agarwal's leadership and this team, so I'm not missing that. But help me square the circle. How do we look that community in the eye and say, we will get to this in 30 years?
You want to bring them up?
There's a recent task force report that might be worth, and we can get you a copy of it, looking into in terms of funding structure and the way that we think about funding these projects. Because, yeah, $30 billion, DEP can't pay for that. The way that we pay for infrastructure upgrades is through water bills, which you don't want to raise for everybody in the city. So yes, it's a confounding problem, and some green infrastructure can be incredibly beneficial because often you can build anything above ground faster and less costly than you can build below ground, and it's less disruptive. But does it convey or move as much water as you want as gray infrastructure? Not always. The way that I think funding is going to be the largest challenge, and the way that we think about funding now and in the long term, and what kind of funding can you put in place that is consistent, steady, and can't be touched. I think are probably some of the biggest challenges.
Just to be clear, if there were more resources available, DEP would have the capacity to speed up the timelines. Because
It depends on what you want. It depends on what you want to do. If you're talking about speeding up the timeline to do a double-barrel sewer in Queens, construction timeline is a construction timeline. So I don't think it's a very simple question with a very complicated answer.
I mean, yes and no. This is not about like how do we green a median. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the 86 areas that you identified that are the most critical flooding risks in the city that require our immediate and aggressive attention, and we're telling those communities we're going to fix it in 30 years. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So if you're telling me that the critical path challenge that we need to resolve is funding, then let's have that conversation about funding. If you're telling me that it's something else, then let's have the conversation about something else. But I think I'm being clear.
I think you're being clear. I'm going to give a slightly different answer, which is that you need to get started. And the good news is right here in this room, we have some of the engineers who are working on pulling out those priorities from the 86 that were identified and really understanding where they can make significant impacts, and that's reducing street flooding. In the short run, we have medium term and then long term. That was part of that 30-year strategy. Many projects are already starting design, and they are already advancing to the Department of Design and Construction. Already DEP is amending drainage plans to be able to share with the Department of Design and Construction. So again, I just wanted to get back to, it's a long time frame to get it all done, but you need to get started. And I just wanted to suggest to you that we have hit the ground running. I truly credit this committee for its leadership on Intro 1150, which is going to have us report out on the master planning every 2 years. I think the first planning report is going to be due in 2027. So we really look forward to being transparent and to obviously the hard work that's ahead. But again, you have to get started, and I believe that this team has really made every effort to do so.
Yeah.
You'll see a lot of spending coming up on that.
Yeah, look, I hear you that the best way to move forward is to move forward, right? And to start work and anywhere and everywhere we can. I think that, it's really important to me that we figure out from a citywide vantage point new funding strategies and specific ways that we can turn a 30-year plan into a 10 or 12-year plan, right? And what are the things that we can do together to actually make that achievable? Because we don't have 30 years to wait, right? And we can only imagine how many horrific storms there are going to be in that time period, and it's just not viable for us to look at things that way. So I appreciate the response. I know there aren't easy answers. If there were, you would have provided them, right? You're all good at your jobs. I'm not claiming otherwise. I think that we're not yet organized in the way that we need to be. And it's hard when we don't have cooperation from the federal government, which, we've obviously entered into that realm as well. One other thing I just want to ask, and I think I, in so many words, try and ask this question at every hearing. Greedily, as the council member for the 33rd Council District, my job is to be parochially focused on my 170,000 people and have as much of DEP's attention as possible in our council district. We've had some really good experience. I mentioned the 2 projects at McCarran where the farmers market is, and the kind of McCarran asphalt lot, again, where Melissa and John and the team have been terrific. We have other projects that we would really like to pursue that would be great in Northern Greenpoint that we think would be great. Terrific opportunities. When we talk to Kevin Moran and the leadership at the DOE, on the kind of chief operating officer at the DOE, they really want to be partnering more, and we have schools where we would love to be partnering together. Like, what advice do you have for me to get more important projects in flood zones onto your list? Like, how do I do a better job of advocating for my community so that I have even more exciting projects to celebrate?
On schools, have you been in contact with the Trust for Public Land?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we've
Do you have any
done-
sites that are
We have
eligible?
one more that we're doing starting this year. Well, we have completed 2 TPL projects since I've been the council member. We have one more that we're going to announce imminently in South Williamsburg that I'm really excited about. So that's for sure. But yes, so we've worked with TPL. I think, is there any, okay, and we can continue to do that. Are there other mechanisms to partner with the DOE on DOE sites other than through TPL, or is that the best way to do it?
We have a program with schools. Melissa, you want to come up and talk about that? Yeah. Let's
Have you
bring
sworn her?
Melissa.
Have you sworn
back up,
Melissa in yet?
Assistant Commissioner.
Sorry.
Hi, before you testify, I'm just going to swear you in quickly. Please raise your right hand. You're doing that. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions?
Yes.
Fantastic. Go ahead.
Great. So to answer the question about our partnership with schools, so we have prioritized a lot of different CSO sheds across the city for implementation of green infrastructure retrofits at schools. We've identified those. We have $30 million worth of projects in construction on those properties right now. That's in addition to the projects that Angela mentioned with Trust for Public Land, where we've funded them for 54 projects already. They have a really great formula. Theirs is such that they look around at, if there's adequate green space in communities and how they might be able to get more play spaces in for community members. So we like to partner with them because it results in a much bigger project. So that is an ongoing partnership. It's citywide. That's combined sewer and MS4. We fund them as much as they have capacity for. And then on this other side of the program, we work with the School Construction Authority. They give us their upcoming capital projects. We like to integrate green infrastructure that way. As they redevelop some of their playgrounds, we also provide funding that way as well.
We will try and do a better job of integrating into SEA projects. I think we have a couple potential opportunities there. And then just with parks, is there anything more we can do? American Playground, Greenpoint Playground are examples of like sites that we're putting some funding into those sites. We'd really love to maximize DP investments as well. Any advice on how we'd get that to happen?
Well, we've been working with the Parks Capital team on both of those sites, and I think part of it is, what's your vision? And you've done a great job of coming to us with what the vision is, and so that our 2 capital teams can get together and say what works for stormwater management, what works for parks for programming, and I think that is really the best way. I know it feels a little slow and cumbersome because you're bringing one and you're asking us to evaluate. That is because we've evaluated a lot of the sites in Greenpoint and in your district previously and hadn't been able to come up with a cost-effective project without these other partners.
Okay.
So I think it's a good strategy.
I just
Hi,
I was just going to mention one other site, if I may, which is the Gateway to Greenpoint.
Yeah, which is great.
And that will begin construction this summer. So those opportunities that you bring to us, where you know that there is maybe land that's not utilized to its highest efficiency or highest level of productivity. We appreciate, I think those are one-offs, but to the extent that you find those sites, I think identifying them for us is really helpful. Sorry, Marit.
Not at all. I'm Marit Larson, Assistant Commissioner of Natural Resources and Planning at Parks, and I just wanted to speak to Parks' role in green infrastructure, site planning and design for a second. Not so much in necessarily your district, council member, but citywide. But we've have a long history of looking for opportunities, both when we are doing our own capital redesigns and are partnering very closely with DEP, as you know, especially to bring in funding to add those stormwater capture opportunities. We've also sought grant opportunities on our own and have gone sort of in parallel over the last 10 years, well, going on 15 years with DEP, looking at those opportunities. in your district and others. So it's part of our process altogether. And to probably add, but maybe it goes without saying, we are fundamentally, because of our ability to provide just the natural based of stormwater capture via our vegetated surfaces, our tree canopy, our soils, it's a function that's critical throughout the park system.
No, I just have to fund it all. So, you know, I mean, we've put $15 million aside for McCarran Park. I mean, it's not an insignificant amount of money, and we've put $5 million into Greenpoint Playground. We're trying our best to direct the resources that we have access to the areas that are where there's a resiliency opportunity and where we can mitigate flooding. It's less to me about, I mean, like, that is the thing that we have to prioritize, and these areas are flood zones. And there is a major health and safety risk that I feel a deep obligation to prioritize in the resources we have going to these places. And I'm grateful for the partnership from DEP. I wish that the city, I mean, and you all come up with resources to handle your portions. I wish that Parks had resources to work with us, that you would prioritize these areas as well. It's really just up to me to come up with the money, and then you'll cooperate, which I'm grateful for the cooperation, but like, I don't know, Matt, you're looking at me like I'm wrong, but it's true. You guys are nice enough, and that's fine, but it's like totally my job to come up with every single penny, or the project doesn't even get taken off the shelf.
I mean, I guess I'd say we have a $1.2 billion capital plan, and like 80% of it is, you know, funded by the sort of mayoral, you know, / admin. So I don't know if I quite agree with that. Like the onus of every like capital improvement in a park system is completely on the.
No, I'm saying in the areas where we have major flood risks, where I'm looking for leadership from the Parks Department to invest resources to help us, I'm getting cooperation and everyone's nice and you join all the calls and you help work with DEP on the projects, but I'm not seeing any money. It's just whatever money I can bring to the table, and if I come up with enough money for the project to work, it can work, and if I don't, it doesn't. That's what I'm not saying that everything that the Parks Department does is so.
Got it.
Okay.
No, understood. Thanks.
Chair, thank you for your generosity and time.
No, I want to thank you, Councilmember Ressler, for chairing the hearing of this committee and doing a great job by all reports. And, you know, just to...
You didn't hear from DEP.
What's that?
You didn't hear from DEP.
No, you know...
I got a number of reports from the Deputy Commissioner that my failure to provide pizza was a major failing.
Well, I'm just saying that, you know, to quote Robert De Niro, I hear things. But, you know, regarding the 30-year time horizon, you know, I've had conversations with the commissioner, and it all depends upon, you know, the speed at which we can. It's all about money. About, like, you know, we're going to get so you know, the more money, like the quicker it can happen, and, you know, the more robust capacity that we can build, which gets me to my point about the rental payment. And I know that everyone in DEP hates the rental payment, and they cannot say that. But what this administration has unfortunately done, I don't think it's the mayor, I think it's the budget director. This is a problem, and so I'm working with state legislators to get a bill done that will just shut off the rental payment. You know, there is a state bill that says that we, the council, should be co-conspirators with the administration at setting what the rental payment level should be. We don't want to be part of that, you know. So, you know, so like the administration wants to stick the knife in 4 inches, and we pull it out 2 inches.
Totally.
And it's just like, and like, that's a win. It isn't. And so, you know, the next mayor, whether it's this mayor again or somebody else, just won't have the rental payment as an option if I have my way.
I'm with you 100%.
That is so that's going to be a key thing, because now do they not only put the rental payment in for 1 year, which is what it always used to be when we were paying off the old pre-1985 debt. They put the rental payment in, and then they baseline it. And so then the next year's rental payment, then like that gets baselined. And so it just becomes it's going to become the thing that just like eats up, like, DEP's capital budget, because a lot of our money is going to things other than water and sewer. And you can pretend to disagree with what I'm saying. I know you all support the administration, but I mean, the rental payment this time has got to go. So thank you very much, Councilmember. Appreciate that. So now we're going to the lightning round, okay? Short questions, short answers. Some questions, actually, we have some great prepared questions from staff. Some of them didn't, in the course of the hearing, a bunch of them got asked, but some that we should put on the record. Plan YC committed the city to constructing 300,000 feet, probably square feet, of porous parking lanes, all right, no, not square feet, because we're talking like lanes, of constructing 300,000 feet of porous, is it parking lanes? It would be like parking lots, or we're talking about like lane miles? What's that? Oh, lane miles or whatever. To capture stormwater in the Bronx and Brooklyn. Can you provide an update on the city's progress towards the construction of porous pavement lanes? I messed that one up, but I think you got most of it. You got the gist of it. How are we doing on the porous pavement? Plan YC.
So happy you asked. We do have plans for 330,000 linear feet of porous, and the status is varying. Last year, we began construction on our first large-scale porous pavement contract in Brooklyn, and 20,000 linear feet have been constructed out of 38,000 linear feet. We have another project which will be bid, actually 2 additional projects, which will result in 142,000 linear feet that will bid this year. And then we have about another 100,000 linear feet in design and about 50,000 linear feet planned for design in the Bronx. So that is our strategy for taking the porous pavement in areas of the Bronx where we have had some high bedrock, but not too high,
right,
where we can actually be able to dig a little more shallowly than our rain gardens, which we talked about earlier, being
Sure.
5 feet. These are only going down to about 2 feet.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Very good. Thank you for that. In your testimony, you mentioned that green infrastructure can only be used where soil conditions allow infiltration. But would you agree that other types of green infrastructure, such as detention systems, can be successfully implemented in areas with bedrock or a high groundwater table? It's kind of a good follow-up to what you just said.
Yes, and that is true. Detention systems and tanks work really well because they have a closed bottom. So we're not relying on infiltrating, we're not exacerbating the groundwater condition. You're absolutely right. Then we're really relying on the orifice size or the slower release into the sewer system.
Right.
Exactly right.
Okay. Okay, this is a Parks question. Parks and DEP. What are Parks and DEP's respective roles in siting, designing, installing, and maintaining green infrastructure in parks?
I can start from the parks perspective.
Sure, just state your name.
Marit Larson, Assistant Commissioner of Natural Resources and Planning. There are a number of ways that we work together with DEP to ensure that we are designing and implementing stormwater green infrastructure wherever possible in parks, both to manage our own stormwater runoff and, when appropriate, manage runoff from the right-of-way. One is that Parks designs and constructs GI retrofits on parkland with DEP funding, and occasionally in the past with grant funding to take runoff from outside parks. We also partner with parks, with DEP in programs such as our Community Parks Initiative, where we're building new parks and then adding DEP funding to be able to add green infrastructure components into those systems. That program's also been going on for 10 plus years. And finally, we collaborate with DEP on opportunities to retrofit green infrastructure into parks to capture neighborhood runoff where DEP takes the lead. We still work very, very closely with them, of course, because wherever that's possible, we need to make sure that we're still protecting park resources and providing park functions. And some of the bigger programs, of course, we've talked about today, the Cloudburst and Bluebelt programs, and we're continuing. We've worked with them for decades, as you've heard, in Staten Island, and continue to work with them as they expand our programs to other boroughs.
Thank you. Appreciate that. What is the status of the Tottenville Shoreline Restoration Project? Sub-question, can you explain what elements of this project incorporate nature-based solutions? So the overall status and what elements of the project incorporate nature-based solutions? Tottenville Shoreline Restoration Project.
Sure, that's a project that has been in development since Sandy. It was a post-Sandy coastal resiliency project that incorporates nature-based design elements throughout. It includes hybrid reinforced dunes, revetments, earthen berms, bioswales along the top course of the earthen reinforced berms where there's new coastal, where there'll be coastal access and waterfront access for the first time. The project is was about to enter procurement. It's in its final design stage, and well, we were very thrilled to get FEMA BRIC funding to complete the project and amass the appropriate, the budget we needed. We're now paused with the FEMA BRIC funding on pause. So at this point, we're reassessing what it is that we might be able to do at the site. We're very disappointed, of course, because it's a long time coming.
Yeah.
We'll be looking to see whether there's any approach that's feasible at this point. We have state and city funding in addition.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. We were talking before about the MS4 areas and like the tricky things about getting green infrastructure in there. Here's the question. What are the most common types of green infrastructure that DEP and other partnering agencies have been able to install in MS4 areas? We kind of touched on this a little bit, but just to kind of clarify it.
Yeah, we have. It's very varied. As we've been discussing, we've been looking to be very strategic in the MS4 area by identifying locations where we can get multiple benefits. We can improve the water quality by removing the pollutant loads, and we can also address and reduce flooding. So we have a number of public on-site projects that we're doing with the Trust for Public Land and the Parks Department. We have two really excellent examples of our Cloudburst project. One is going to be in St. Albans right-of-way. Another is at the Rufus King Park.
That used to be in my district.
There we go.
I just lost it.
Yeah, St. Albans right-of-way is in design, and Rufus King Park, we have bid the procurement.
What are you going to do in Rufus King?
So that's going to be Cloudburst management, working with some opportunity to direct water from the streets and to utilize the low-lying areas and wet areas of the park.
Okay. Thank you.
We also have another one at Archie Spigner Park, which is also looking to be bid soon. I'm going to put it that way. And we have the Montbelier Cloudburst Hub. The design will start in FY29. That's very close and drains to Thurston Basin.
Thank you. Thank you. What did you say? Okay. Continuing our lightning round, does DEP consider co-benefits when selecting green infrastructure for stormwater management, such as urban heat reduction?
Right. So that is most related to when we're doing the green infrastructure, such as a rain garden, where we would have a tree or vegetation. And some of the schoolyard projects where we've been able to develop some of the green roofs associated with the development of underground storage tanks. So we need to have that green element mainly to achieve the cooling effect that we desire. And that's why, even though those are the hardest to maintain, we still try to promote that where it's possible for that type of vegetation to thrive and to be supported by our maintenance.
Thank you. The council was trying to explain the question to me, but I'm a little obtuse, so I'll have the council ask the question.
Sure, I will ask it. The question, I know that you've mentioned in your testimony that green infrastructure is not, or the green to acre metric rather, is not totally conducive both to measure CSO reduction or to measure other sort of benefits of green infrastructure like street flooding. Does DEP believe or know of any other metric that would better capture green infrastructure's impact on street flooding reduction or on any of the other co-benefits?
Yeah, and we're struggling with this, but we want to work with you on how to address that question best. To explain, a green acre is 1 inch of water over an acre of land. That's just essentially meant to be a volumetric target. So it was never greening an acre. It's to be an efficient way of having water managed. For the CSO program, it's infiltrating it. It's taking it out when the storm event occurs, putting it in abeyance, putting it in storage so that the rain event can pass so that the CSO does not occur. In the MS4 area, it's really about pollutant removal, and this is going to get even wonkier, which is the state definition is water quality volume. It took me the longest time to understand what does that mean. The chairman may know that better than I do with your educational background, but the water quality volume is about having enough of the pollutants removed. So you're treating the water. It's really a treatment metric. So 2 different metrics, but we'd like to work with you to figure out a way to better relate that and to track that in a way that's meaningful. We're certainly tracking it. I heard earlier from Councilmember Holden that we have to be able to measure our success. We do measure it. We are measuring it today. What is the water quality volume? How many stormwater management do we have? we're constantly looking at those metrics. We know how much we're achieving through our unified stormwater rule. We know how much we're achieving through the projects that we're developing. OMB holds us to account on that, and we hold ourselves to a high standard. How to relate that in a way that's meaningful to the public is something that we're struggling with.
There you have it. And so the council of the committee had the last word. Actually, you had the last word. I'm really grateful to have you come here and talk about how we have the best green infrastructure program in the country. And a lot of this stuff came out of the comprehensive stormwater management plan that the council and I did, I think in 2008, where we really could, that was really done for CSOs. That was like the big thing. Now, like the new one is more about flooding. But, as time goes on, we have to have new and different and better, stormwater management plans in place as Mother Nature and climate change, take us down this road. And so this concludes the questioning. We're grateful to DEP and Parks for being here. Always, great to engage with you and do great things for, the city's environment and the city's parks on behalf of the people that we serve. That almost sounded like a speech. Okay, so, but it wasn't. It was just all, it just came out. I don't know. It happens. And so, thank you all very much. And so I thank the panel. If the sergeants or whoever could queue up, I just have to take a break for a second. I'm going to say goodbye to Angela and company. And I'll be back in a moment. And if we can have oh no, we have live witnesses, right? We have witnesses. We have in-person witnesses and we have virtual, right? So we're going to do the people first, right? They showed up. They should get on first. Okay. And so if you could call the first witness, I'm going to say goodbye to the panel, and then I'll be right back. Okay, we're starting the public participation part, and in order to do that by the numbers, I have to read the following into the record. I now open the hearing for public testimony. I remind members of the public that this is a formal government proceeding and that decorum shall be observed at all times. As such, members of the public shall remain silent at all times. The witness table is reserved for people who wish to testify. No video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. If you wish to speak at today's hearing, please fill out an appearance card with the Sergeant at Arms and wait to be recognized. When recognized, you will have 2 minutes to speak on today's hearing topic of nature-based solutions for climate resiliency and disaster preparedness, and proposed intros 1253 and 1254, as well as proposed resolutions 131 and 143A. If you have a written statement or additional written testimony you wish to submit for the record, please provide a copy of that testimony to the Sergeant at Arms. You may also email written testimony to testimony@council, COUNCIL, .nyc.gov. Let me say that again. testimony@council.nyc.gov within 72 hours of this hearing. Audio and video recordings will not be accepted. And with that, I have the pleasure of calling the first witness. What's that? That would be M. Ruby of Riverkeeper.
Good afternoon, Councilmember. I'm Em Ruby, the Advocacy and Policy Coordinator at Riverkeeper. Thank you, Chairperson Gennaro and members of the committee, for your leadership to promote nature-based solutions for climate resiliency. And I appreciate the opportunity to testify today. Nature-based solutions for climate resiliency are absolutely critical for New York City's adaptation to climate change. Riverkeeper strongly supports efforts by the Council and DEP to expand the use of nature-based solutions to address climate threats citywide. However, we do have some concerns regarding the two bills being introduced today and how they propose to do so. We oppose Intro 1254. Riverkeeper appreciates the Council's intent to ensure development of green infrastructure in the MS4 area, and that is a goal which we have supported through the inclusion of GI in the MS4 area in the CSO consent order modification of 2023. We supported that modification. However, we oppose this bill as the greened acre target goal we believe would undermine DEP's efforts to reduce CSOs in the most polluted waters in the city, while failing to drive meaningful flood mitigation and other key benefits to communities within the MS4 areas. A greened acre is a unit that was created to measure the volume reduction of CSO and is a key target to ensure DEP is meeting its CSO reduction requirements to help remediate the impairments of most New York City waters. A greened acre of green infrastructure is specific to CSO control for water quality improvement and cannot be used for flood risk reduction, which I believe this bill is attempting to do so. And I know that Deputy Commissioner Licata also spoke to this. Setting a greened acre target in the MS4 area would result in widely dispersed and poorly planned green infrastructure assets, having little benefit either in reducing pollution to waterways or to reducing street flooding. By setting a mandatory target of 2,400 greened acres over 10 years in the MS4 area, this legislation will also place a significant burden on DEP. Currently, DEP does not have the resources to meet this target and would have to take funding from the CSO program to do so. As a result, there is a one-to-one trade-off in which every dollar spent in the MS4 areas decreases the funding for green infrastructure in the CSO areas, which could risk DEP falling out of compliance with the CSO consent order. In order to achieve effective flood reduction and pollution control, green infrastructure in MS4 areas must be thoughtfully deployed in conjunction with gray infrastructure and other assets. For New York City neighborhoods to use green infrastructure well to significantly reduce street flooding, strategies like the Cloudburst program and the Blue Belt program, which were spoken about today, are needed that coordinate resilience on a neighborhood scale. Installing green infrastructure rain gardens and bioswales will not have the kind of intended flood reduction effect. While we appreciate the intent of this bill, as written, we believe that it would have a significant negative effect, including by diverting resources from the city's very successful green infrastructure program in CSO areas, while not significantly reducing stormwater pollution or street flooding in the MS4 areas. And we would like to work further with the committee and the chair to find a more effective solution.
Certainly, you have my commitment. I always work with Riverkeeper, and we would be happy to continue the dialogue. I appreciate the dialogue you've had, you and your colleagues at Riverkeeper. There's been good engagement. I think we keep it going, and so I look forward to that collaboration, and I appreciate you being here, giving us the benefit of your views on the record, and your patience in waiting so long to testimony and to give your testimony. Please give my best to everyone at Riverkeeper. I go all the way back to when Riverkeeper was founded, so it's just like.
Well, you're not wearing your hat today, Chair. But
No, I'm not wearing my hat. I know, I like the hat because it keeps my balding head from getting too much sun. So I do appreciate that. And yes, that is my go-to hat when I'm on Zooms. And I always appreciate Riverkeeper, what they bring to the table in terms of making a better environment, and also their fashion statement with their T-shirts and hats. So.
Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to working with you guys on this effort. As I just want to reemphasize, we really appreciate the effort to expand nature-based resilience and nature-based solutions for climate resilience across the city, including in the MS4 areas, and so we want to make sure that that happens, and so we look forward to working with you guys.
Me too. Thank you so much, and all the best, Em.
Thank you.
Well, okay, there are two more slips that were filled out. I don't think that people are still here, but just to be thorough, Christopher Leon Johnson and Peter, I can't read that. Peter Malinowski. And so if, with the Billion Oyster Project. Seeing no one, we'll move on to the online. So I have to, okay. Section 2 of the public testimony would be the folks that are going to be participating at Zoom. At the beginning of Zoom testimony, that's just a note for me to read it. Okay. We will now turn to remote testimony. Once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you, and the Sergeant-at-Arms will give you the go-ahead to begin. Please wait for the Sergeant-at-Arms to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. Otherwise, there'll be like a spot where we can't hear you. So here we go. Oh my God, we've got, he's a really important guy. And yeah, well, it is my great pleasure and honor to call my longtime friend and environmental colleague, Paul Gallet, formerly of DEC, formerly of Riverkeeper. He was the Riverkeeper, now with Columbia Climate School. So, Paul Gallet, please zoom in.
You may begin.
Thank you. I'm here, and hopefully you all can hear me.
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Chairman and the other members of the council, thank you for this opportunity to testify. I'm currently director of the Resilient Coastal Communities Project, a partnership between the Columbia Climate School and the New York City Environmental Justice Alliance, which seeks to foster new collaborations between environmental justice communities, practitioners, and researchers to help develop actionable, fundable, and equitable solutions to flood risks that also deliver complementary benefits like habitat restoration, job creation, and greater community cohesion, and put into practice the Climate School's commitment to fairness, social justice, and anti-racism. I also represented DEC in negotiations with the City of New York on the original 1992 CSO consent order, and while with Riverkeeper, engaged closely with the state and the city on the 2012 modified order. So this goes way back for me. We are advocating for 8 specific initiatives. We have submitted written testimony earlier today, and I'm not going to read that testimony, obviously, but I will summarize the 8 recommendations for scaling up green infrastructure, which are detailed in the written testimony. And attached to the written testimony is the Resilient Coastal Communities Project's 2024 Green Infrastructure Handbook, which studies the work in New York City, Hoboken, Portland, Oregon, Los Angeles, New Orleans, Philadelphia, and Merida in the Yucatan state in Mexico. And we feel that these other cities offer some great examples that can be borrowed into the work that's being done by DEP and other agencies here in New York City.
Your time's expired.
Paul, I'm going to give you a little, latitude to continue. So please continue and try to summarize. But I'm going to give you a little latitude here.
Good. We urge the City Council to support the following 8 ideas relating to natural and nature-based measures, and hopefully this can be within the time that you're giving me. Scale up the green infrastructure solutions, such as the New York City Cloudburst program, and to the extent money is being taken away from the BRIC program, use the city's legal power. If this process has been deficient, the way this money is being taken away, you should sue and get that money back. Simply stated. Number 2, center equity by prioritizing historically underserved and high-risk communities. Flood risk is not evenly distributed. The city must direct GI funding and technical support towards frontline neighborhoods that have historically been underserved and underrepresented. 3, expand use of real-time data tools to drive targeted GI deployment. Initiatives like FloodNet have already demonstrated how low-cost real-time centers can radically improve stormwater management. More about that in the written testimony. 4, commit to long-term sustained funding for GI implementation and maintenance, a theme that has already been examined today, and so I won't continue to do so. 5, invest in education and workforce development to build long-term capacity. New York must invest in the people who will build, maintain, and innovate this infrastructure. We urge the creation of training programs, curriculum integration, and certification pathways to grow the local green workforce. 6, center community co-design in all green infrastructure and resilience planning. Community trust, buy-in, and local expertise are essential to the long-term success of these investments. 7, foster cross-sector collaboration and continuous innovation. Harness the strengths of academic institutions, community organizations, design professionals to advance green infrastructure research. Hopefully our green infrastructure handbook will be helpful with that. And finally, treat green infrastructure as essential climate infrastructure. This is the sum up. Green infrastructure and nature-based solutions are core to how we must now think about flood resilience, public health, urban equity, and long-term sustainability. Green infrastructure must be embedded across all levels of planning, policy, and capital investment to ensure New York is not only reacting to disaster, but actively and proactively shaping a greener, safer future. So thank you for the extra time.
Paul, thank you, for we've been colleagues for many decades, and, staff here should know that we're being addressed by a bona fide environmental hero who is still hitting it and still putting the ball in the bleachers. And we really appreciate you, Paul, and thanks for all your great advocacy. I wanted to make sure you got your points on the record. We're certainly going to, delve into the written testimony and really appreciate all the work that you continue to do on behalf of New York's environment.
I couldn't be more grateful to you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. He really is a hero, this guy, just so you know. I wasn't just saying that. Okay, for the League of Conservation Voters, Alia Sumro. Alia, right? I said that right, I think.
Yeah.
You
said
may
that right.
begin.
Yeah, finally I said it right, finally, yeah.
Nice. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Alia Sumro, and I'm the Deputy Director for New York City Policy at the New York League of Conservation Voters. Thank you, Chair Gennaro and members of the Committee on Environmental Protection for the opportunity to testify today. New York City is vulnerable to multiple types of climate risks, including but not limited to extreme rainfall, sea level rise, coastal and inland flooding, extreme heat, high groundwater tables, or a mix of all of the above. Climate change can also amplify the impacts of environmental injustices, pre-existing social and economic challenges combined with the uneven distribution of climate change impacts can make low-income and communities of color more vulnerable than others. With the climate-denying presidential administration actively cutting environmental regulations and funding, NYLCV urges New York City to work with the state to prioritize and invest in multi-hazard climate resilience and mitigation measures, including a mix of green and gray infrastructure and natural and nature-based solutions along the city's coast. Centering environmental justice and equity must be a key part in all climate and environmental planning and policies. NYLCV recommends the city continue investing in smaller stormwater management solutions such as rain gardens, bioswales, permeable pavement, and wetland restoration. Green infrastructure should continue to be prioritized and funded by DEP and be expanded and implemented equitably so that all neighborhoods can receive the environmental benefits that come with them. While the Green Infrastructure Program has made progress over the last few years, funding for maintenance and operation is key. When it comes to the related legislation, NYLCV has some concerns about Intro 1253, a bill that would require DEP to notify the local council member when DEP installs a new bioswale, rain garden, or other bioretention system in the public right-of-way. Given the urgency of the climate crisis—
Your time has expired.
Alia, we work together. I'm going to give you a little latitude as well, so please continue.
Okay, thank you. Just given the urgency of the climate crisis, we think that a bill requiring notice for small-scale green infrastructure projects could slow down the city's existing work. Moreover, the public is already notified of the installation of new GI assets in the right-of-way through DDC, which is responsible for the construction of these installations. That it includes a 14-day public notice, which is sent out to local elected officials as well as those signed up to receive notifications through DDC's Anywhere portal. So we're happy to continue working with you, Councilmember Gennaro, and other advocates to get the bill where it needs to be, but we just want to emphasize that we think that green infrastructure projects need more funding for maintenance and operations. And then wrapping up, we encourage the city to continue prioritizing cloud-burst infrastructure and the Blue Belt program. And lastly, we hope the city makes progress in the coming years to develop an equitable voluntary buyout program. We look forward to working with you, council member, and the rest of the council and other advocates. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Alia. And I have a question for you. You ready? A little League Conservation Voters, I guess, well, not trivia because it's a big deal. Who is Paul Elston?
I'm not sure, actually.
Paul Elston founded the League of Conservation Voters.
Oh,
and
okay.
so I go
That's
back.
good to know.
Yeah, so here we are that, we got this great institution, does so much work, and and particularly people at LCV should know who Paul Elston is. And so, he wasn't the day-to-day person, but he was like the founder and like got it together and like raised the money and did all that. And he's a great philanthropist and a good guy. And so I just wanted to get his name on the record, and because he is a very, he's got a great legacy, and that should, and people should know that. So that's why I'm taking this opportunity to mention his name. He's been out of the league business for a long time, but he is the founder, Paul Elston. And now you have something. Now you have something on everyone else at LCV. You know something they don't, and so.
Nice. That sounds good.
Alia, great to,
that.
Great to have you with us. Always appreciate your testimony and the great collaboration with the league. Please say hello for everybody. Please say hello to everybody from me.
That sounds great. Thank
Okay,
you. Thanks
you
for
bet.
the opportunity.
Take care.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
day. Bye.
Michelle, looks like Lubke of the Swim Coalition. Always happy to hear from the Swim Coalition. Michelle Lubke.
Did she say you may begin?
You may begin.
Sorry. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Michelle Lupke, and I'm the program manager at the Stormwater Infrastructure Matters, or SWIM Coalition. Thank you for the opportunity to deliver public testimony, and thank you to Chairman Gennaro and members of the committee for your leadership on promoting nature-based solutions for climate resiliency and protecting water resources in New York City. SWIM Coalition is a group of more than 70 organizations dedicated to ensuring fishable, swimmable waters around New York City through sustainable stormwater management practices, and has long advocated for nature-based solutions to address flooding, stormwater, and climate resiliency. Not only because green infrastructure has the capability to manage water in highly urbanized areas, but also because of the myriad co-benefits associated with greening our cities. While the SWIM Coalition typically supports promoting green infrastructure throughout the city and has actively worked with the council and the DEP to expand the use of nature-based solutions to address climate threats citywide, we have major concerns that the two bills being introduced today will not be effective solutions and may have unintended adverse impacts, particularly in environmental justice communities. In opposition to Intro 1253, there are already notifications, as been mentioned, to council members when new GI assets are being installed, and we fear additional requirements could slow down or prevent new GI from being installed. We strongly oppose Intro 1254 because the greened acre target goal does not accomplish what we understand the bill is intended to do, which is address flooding, and may in fact result in worse water quality throughout the city. Two solutions we do support are earmarking the $303 million rental payment from the New York City Water Board to replace the $300 million in funds lost to cloudburst, coastal resiliency, and other climate projects being funded through the FEMA BRIC grant program. That will help address a lot of the MS4 flooding issues, and also including an additional $4 million to fund implementation of the Unified Stormwater Rule, including 15 additional staff at DEP, which will increase effectiveness of this program.
The time has expired.
Please continue.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing our reasoning for opposing these bills. We will be submitting a written testimony with our concerns addressed in greater detail. We echo our partners at Riverkeeper in extending the offer to gladly work further with Council and DEP to find effective solutions for our common goals. Thank you.
I certainly appreciate your testimony. Could not agree with you more on the rental payment, which is why I'm going to do everything I can to make the rental payment go away within a year, and that would really be a great thing. And so always appreciate collaborating with the Swim Coalition. We appreciate your very intense advocacy and your enlightened perspective on everything that we try to do here. We depend upon you, and we thank you for coming through.
Well, we thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Okay, and then the last witness we have is John Leyva, L-E-V-Y-A, John Leyva, if I've pronounced that right.
You may begin.
Hi. Unfortunately, I'm not in a good environment to really comment, but I'll just say I agree with both bills as written, and I think they should both be passed. And again, I'm not in a good situation to speak right now. I'm picking up my son from school. Sorry, I apologize.
No, well, we certainly appreciate people going out of their way to make sure that they're part of our process, which is exactly what you're doing. You're doing something very important, picking up your son, but you want to make sure that you get your voice on the record and that you get your views heard. And you are exactly the kind of witness that we love to have. Someone who's not in the game, but has profound views that they want to put on the record. And so that is who you are, John, and we appreciate your presence here today. Thank you so much, and good luck with your son.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you bet. If we have inadvertently missed anyone that is registered to testify today and has yet to be called, please use the Zoom raise hand function if you are testifying remotely, and you will be called in the order that your hand has been raised. If you are testifying in person, please come to the dais. Anyone? Seeing none, I will now close the hearing. Thank you to the members of the administration and members of the public who have joined us today. This hearing is adjourned. Let me do the gavel to make it official. Thank you all very much. God bless. Thank you to the sergeants. Let's hear for the sergeants.